there everyone, it's Misty here. Welcome to my 2-year keto versary video. So I can't believe it's been 2 years. I'm actually filming this a couple of days late. I'm actually filming this on Friday, March the 8th. And my actual keto anniversary was March the 6th. I meant to film this yesterday, but we'll talk about it. So I'm gonna kind of have, I think 3 or 4 different parts in this video. The first, I'm just gonna kind of introduce myself, give you a brief recap of the last few years, tell you why I started keto and how that's been going. Then I'm gonna share what I weigh now. This will also serve as kind of my March weigh-in and update, etc. And then I'm gonna go through some frequently asked questions that I get a lot in the comments or on Instagram, etc. And then I asked you guys to leave me some questions, and several of you did. So that's how this is going to go. So to start, like I said, my name is Misty. I'm married. I live in Dallas. This is our home. We have a cat, Roxy. You'll see her every once in a while. Normally she's up here asleep, but she's in my craft room sleeping on her ledge. I started this channel, I believe, in 2015, and that's initially when I started my first kind of weight loss journey. But I couldn't really keep up with it. I was going through a lot of drama with my brother and just a bunch of issues. And so kind of fast forward to 2016, that's kind of when things started spiraling out of control. And in July of 2016, I had a skin cancer removed. In August, I had emergency gallbladder surgery. In September, I had nodules on my thyroid. We thought maybe I had thyroid cancer. And then October of 2016 is when I began experiencing symptoms of what would later be diagnosed as myasthenia gravis. Myasthenia gravis is a neuromuscular junction disorder. Basically, it's a neurological autoimmune disease which affects the junction where the nerves and muscles talk to each other, and it causes extreme muscle weakness. It can, affect your breathing, and it can affect your swallowing. For me, it's really limited my mobility or my ability. I mean, there are days where I can't even hold my toothbrush. My toothbrush is too heavy to brush my teeth or feed myself, etc. So those symptoms started in October, and then by January, I was also experiencing really horrible pain in my thoracic and my lumbar spine. So you have 3 spines. You have your cervical, which is like where your neck is. Then you have your thoracic, which is around your abdomen. Then you have your lumbar spine, which is your lower back. And I mean, it just felt like it was catching, like bone was on bone. And come to find out, I have spinal stenosis, which is a narrowing of the spinal canal. And then I also have what's called OPLL, which is the ossification of the posterior longitudinal ligament. I don't know how I'm able to say that, and some days I can't even remember my own damn birthday. But basically, the ligaments that run north and south in my spine are calcifying, they're turning to bone. And that causes a lot of issues. That's where my pain comes from. When I say I'm having a bad day and I'm in pain, that's from the back stuff. My myasthenia gravis doesn't necessarily cause, it's not pain, that's just really weakness. But when you put the two together, there are days I just literally can't accomplish anything. So in fact, today is the first day in 3 days that I've been able to get in the shower. And I have a shower chair. It wasn't even the fact that it was just like literally lifting my legs to get in my shower. So yeah, so it's been a struggle. So I started keto on March 6, 2017. And I'd actually played around with keto in the past, but I wasn't really, at that time, there weren't a whole lot of people on the internet really talking about keto. And so I didn't really understand that you weren't trying to hit, the macros. Like, I just didn't understand it. I thought I was trying to get 70% fat in every meal, and that's just not the case. So I finally spent like 3 weeks figuring out what to do, etc. And I started March 6, 2017 at 425 pounds, and I was a type 2 insulin-dependent diabetic. So when I started this keto journey, it was never about the weight on the scale. I mean, I wanted that to be a side effect, but my biggest goal was to get off insulin. I wanted off insulin. And so I worked really hard and was really more focused on my blood sugar numbers. And then of course I was, I wanted the weight to go down too, but the issue is for a lot of people, when you're on insulin, which is a fat storing hormone, it's really hard to lose weight. It's really, really hard. So I knew that once I got off insulin that, things would move forward. And I was strict keto for like 6 months. And then so like I said, I started in October of 2016 having symptoms. I spent the whole month of April thinking I had ALS and that I was going to die. And then in June, I went ahead and put my notice in to leave my job because it had gotten to where I just couldn't do it. Just walking in from the parking lot took every ounce of energy that I had. I would literally walk in from the parking lot, go to my office, and sit there for 4 hours before I could get up and just walk the 15 feet to go to the restroom. It was really, really bad. And then I left my job. I got diagnosed in July. I left my job in August, and then I started immune suppression therapy in September. By that time, I was already basically off insulin. I was completely off insulin October 2017. And then starting February, March, maybe even closer to April of 2018, I started having issues with my blood sugars being elevated. And January of 2018, I had lost like 12 pounds that month. And I remember it must have been around April. I keep thinking it was February, but I think it was April. My blood sugars just started being elevated for no reason. And it drove me absolutely bonkers. And I ended up in the hospital around my birthday. I turned 40. Then I ended up with vertigo. I had vertigo for 2 full months, and I ended up in the worst depression that I've ever experienced in my life. All while trying to keep myself going and to keep, it just got to be too much. I started Farxiga in September of 2018. Farxiga is a type of drug to treat type 2 diabetes, and it basically pulls the sugar from your blood system and releases it through your urine. And one of the side effects is diabetic ketoacidosis. So in October of 2018, I ended up in ICU with diabetic ketoacidosis. Basically, my organs had shut down to die. The day I went into the hospital, my blood sugar was like 177, but my keto mojo meter, I have a link for that down below, was registering high. And I called the ambulance. I went by ambulance to the hospital, but the ambulance, the paramedics didn't want to take me. They thought I didn't have it. They questioned if I even knew what it was. And I went with my gut. And if I hadn't, who knows what would happen. I probably wouldn't be here talking to you today. So just a couple of weeks ago, it's been a real struggle. And like I said, I'd been off insulin, and then finally on February 11th, I went and saw my endocrinologist, and my A1C was 10.9. So it was time to do something about the hyperglycemia. So unfortunately, I had to go back on insulin, and I've been on insulin ever since. I'm also on phentermine for the help with weight loss. My doctor put me on that. I started that in January. It was my choice. I asked for it and I did it. Lost 14 pounds in January, the first couple weeks of February. And then at the end of February, I was up to, I think, 377. So I was basically down 2 pounds for the year. So today, March 8th, 2019, I am weighing in at 370 pounds. So last week I was at 377. This week I'm at 370. So that's a 7-pound loss. Thank the Lord. And I went back on phentermine. So, and you'll have to watch the last couple of updates to kind of get caught up with that. Holy crap, that was 9 minutes. But it gets you all caught up, those of you, especially those of you who are new. So, I've had a couple of really great days with my numbers, and then the last couple of days they've just been high, and all of that has to do with the fact that I've been in so much pain because of the stupid weather. So that's kind of why I shared all of that with you about my diagnosis and what's going on. I also have a lot of arthritis in my body that runs in my family. So when the weather is up and down, my joints swell, and that also causes some weight gain as well. So that's a total of like 50 pounds, 55 pounds, I guess. Is that even 50 pounds? 30, 25, 50. Yeah, 55 pounds in 2 years. And so the weight loss hasn't been astronomical for me, but it didn't start out that way anyway. So, yeah. So I got a comment not too long ago about how does it feel to have failed my weight loss journey? And I was just like, I haven't failed anything. I mean, my weight loss has been really slow. I'm not the only person who experiences that, but your weight loss journey doesn't end when you hit your goal weight. Your weight loss journey is for the rest of your life, because you also have to maintain it. And for me, a failure would be, I would be at weighing in with you guys today at 425 or 430 or 435. So for my ability to stay at least 50 pounds down for 2 years, I consider that a win. Do I want to lose more weight? Hell yes, I want to lose more weight. I was hoping I would be able to hit 300 this year. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's all going to depend on the weight and stuff. And the issue with the hyperglycemia is my immune suppression therapy. I realized a couple of weeks ago that immune suppression therapy causes hyperglycemia. And in fact, and I mentioned this in another video, people who have transplants who've never been type 2 diabetic can develop type 2 diabetes because of their immune suppression therapy. Per my primary care physician's request, I reached out to my neurologist, who said, she's treated so many patients and they've never had it. And I'm just like, I don't like her. I'm going to find a new neurologist. But it's like, hello, I'm telling you that the only thing that has changed is that I'm on immune suppression therapy. I've been doing basically 0 carb for the last year. So it's frustrating. It's also really frustrating when being on YouTube, because so many people want to compare my journey to Tammy from Keto and the Chaos, or other people who have lost. I mean, Tammy's lost over 200 pounds now in just 2 years, and unfortunately I can't compare my journey with her. Number one, comparison is the thief of joy, but also she and I aren't in the exact same body. We have physiological differences. Like I said, I have an autoimmune disorder. I'm a type 2 diabetic. I have all these other issues. I absolutely cannot exercise. I used to love to swim. We have a swimming pool, and in the summer I would swim a 1/4 mile in the morning and a 1/2 mile at night, and I physically cannot do that anymore. So unfortunately, I just can't. So I can't compare my journey with somebody else's. And the last few months the last year really, I've been so hyper-focused on the weight. And someone was like, why don't you just refocus on your blood sugar? That's where you started all of this. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a number in mind until my neurosurgeon said 200 pounds. And I've been so hyper-focused on that, I've kind of lost, I've just kind of became a slave to the scale. And I hate to say it like that, but it's like, if the scale is up, then it makes me angry. I mean, I can remember sobbing one weekend in February, and Rob came home and he thought, I got a call that someone had died, when really it was just, I was so upset that I'd gained weight when I've done nothing to do that. So anyway, so my weight is down, but I also have several non-scale victories. I actually have a paper here. So I'm down from a size 32 pant to a 22. Well, I'm almost in a 22. Like, I'm this far from being able to to fasten it and zip. So I'm almost in a size 22. I went from a size 5X shirt to almost a 2X. It depends on the brand. Some brands I can wear a 2X, others I'm in a 3X. I'm down 3 ring sizes, almost 4. This is a size 7, and it's really loose. This is my wedding set. It was $3 from eBay. My original wedding set, the band is very, very thin, and it's a size 10, and I don't want to size it down until I get to a more consistent weight. And Rob and I have been talking about getting new wedding sets anyway. But this is a size 7, and it's very, very loose. I'm down 2 bra sizes. I was a 50 triple D and now I'm a 48, almost a 46 in the band. I will always be a triple D until I can have a breast reduction surgery, which I would like to have. There's only a couple of things that I would change about myself. The weight loss has never been about vanity, and I've said that before. I mean, I was perfectly happy at 425 pounds with who I am and how I looked. You know, there's no skinny girl inside a fat person dying to get out. And I know a lot of people don't understand that, but society is who told us that being fat is bad. But I know a lot of people who are healthy at 400 pounds or 300 pounds. And I felt beautiful at 425 pounds and I felt beautiful at 325, which I think is my lowest weight as an adult. So it doesn't have anything to do with vanity or, anything like that. It's all about wanting to get, again, off insulin and then also taking care of back issues. And then the last one is I was able to move the car seat up because I'm an apple, which means all of my weight is right here under the hood. I have no junk in my trunk. It's all under the hood. And so being able to scoot the seat up, that way, and my belly doesn't rub against the wheel. So it makes it safer to drive, etc. So I want to talk about some frequently asked questions that I get. The number one is probably, why haven't I had weight loss surgery? And weight loss surgery is not an easy answer for me. In fact, my doctor and I just talked about it again. When you have myasthenia gravis, like I mentioned, you can have trouble with breathing, the muscles in your chest. And it makes even the simplest bit of anesthesia, you could die. It can be deadly. So much, in fact, that when I had my thumb operated on in December, I was supposed to go under general anesthesia, and my anesthesiologist and I talked about it, and he was like, it's a 15-minute procedure. He's like, do you want to go under? And I said, can we do something else? And he said, I would rather you not go under since you have myasthenia. And he did like a nerve block and stuff, so I didn't have to go under. So, and weight loss surgery isn't necessarily the answer, and it may or may not, and I could be, end up diabetic because I'm on immune suppression therapy. Like, it may not help the diabetes, especially because of the hyperglycemia from the immune suppression therapy. So it's not, and everybody has a risk when there's a surgery involved, but for me, it's an even greater risk because of the myasthenia. And so to me, weight loss surgery isn't worth it, because I can absolutely do those things on my own. I'm using Adipex or phentermine as my tool rather than, cutting half my stomach out. So, and I have, if you've had surgery and you've chose that for you, I absolutely 100% support you, because it's your body. You do what you need to do for your body. But for me, it's just not worth the risk. It's absolutely not worth the risk. I don't want to make my husband a widow just because I'm trying to lose weight. So, okay, not wearing waterproof mascara, so let's not cry. So it's just completely off the table for me. And it may take me 10 years to lose down to 200 pounds, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. Just as long as I keep going in that general direction, I'm okay. I also get questions all the time about fasting, and if I've heard of Dr. Fung. Yes, actually I have. I've actually heard of just about everybody, all the doctors that everybody mentions. I actually tried intermittent fasting. I think it was my 3rd or 4th month on keto, and unfortunately, my body doesn't do well in a fasted state. And by then like I said, I'd been strict keto, so I hadn't had a single, carb that you weren't supposed to, and my blood sugars just elevate. My liver dumps that glucose like nobody's business when I'm in a fasted state. So unfortunately, intermittent fasting doesn't work for me. And in fact, I've switched to the exact opposite of intermittent fasting, where I'm eating every 2 hours. I start eating an hour after I wake up, and then I eat every 2 hours until 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is my last meal of the day. And then I take my mycophenolate and my insulin at 11, and then I try to be up at 7. So I get about 7-8 hours of sleep if I can, but it has helped so much in fact, that the very next day after starting that, I woke up with my fasting blood sugar at 114, and I hadn't had a number that low in years. So that's what I have to do to work for me. That works for me. So some people, like I follow somebody on Instagram, he's in Arlington, I think it's type 2 to go or something like that, and his numbers are fantastic, and he's doing like just did like a 96-hour fast. And so I wish that that worked for me, but unfortunately intermittent fasting isn't this, amazing thing for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody. Like I said, I know all the doctors, so everybody's like, well, have you listened to this, and have you followed keto, Casey, and have you followed? Yes. Yeah, I have. Plant-based. So many people are like, you should go plant-based. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. I was vegetarian for 2 years after I became diabetic, and it didn't do a damn thing for my blood sugar. Unfortunately, I have the type of, my body does not tolerate carbohydrates really well at all. So I was doing under 20 carbs a day before I even started keto. So if I were to do plant-based, it would be like what I would eat, lettuce. Like there would still only be like 5 vegetables that I would be able to eat. So, and I'm a carnivore. I completely believe in the primal way of eating. Or the carnivore way of eating. I lost my most weight when I did carnivore for a month. I feel better when I do carnivore. Your body doesn't need fiber. That is a myth. That's just a myth. The only reason why you need fiber is to clean your body out from the carbohydrates. So, and Dr. Berry, who a lot of people love, he's doing carnivore. So there's a lot of, the thing I said one time about research is there's research to support every single person's point of view. And a lot of medical research is biased. And the big pharma pays a lot of money to keep, like a friend of mine, her husband, he runs research projects at universities. And he was telling us about this one about heart disease and how they had to end up like changing the research paper because the finding would cut into the pharmaceutical company's profits. And so all of this research that comes out, just remember that it's like the whole fat or the eggs. Eggs are bad for you. Like every time you turn around, there's this new something that's bad for you. And now it's like, everybody's like, well, keto's bad for you. Well, no, keto's been around for 100 years. It's now on people have jumped on the bandwagon, or it's more visible and etc. But keto's been around forever. It works. Your body will burn fat. Cavemen were carnivores. There wasn't agricultural back then. So they were in a constant state of ketosis. So, and newborns are in ketosis until you give them table food because they're only getting a mother's milk, or a formula. So yeah, there's so much information out there that it's really hard to, like someone messaged or made a comment on an Instagram post, I did a fat fast, or I tried to do a fat fast. And someone's like, well, the guy said you can, only his brand of bulletproof coffee will work. And it's like, bulletproof coffee is fat and coffee. That's it. You don't have to buy a particular brand or do anything like that. So I guess if you're new to keto or whatever, I would just do your research. But no, I will not be going plant-based. And then a lot of people ask me about my macros and try to tell me that I'm telling you how to do keto wrong. There's no one way to do keto, okay? There's not one way. I know a lot of people are stuck on the 70-25 or whatever. There's no one way to do keto. In fact, the actual organization that kind of started keto has 6 different versions of how to do keto. Your body will naturally go into ketosis if you are starving your body of carbohydrates. So anybody who's doing carnivore or whatever, as long as you're starving your body of carbohydrates, you will go into ketosis. Listen to me again. It's all about the carbohydrates. The reason why there's such a high fat ratio is to help keep you satiated, because when you eat carbs balloon you up. They fill you up. That's in like rice and grains and quinoa and pasta and potatoes, all those things, they fill you up. They also make you hella sleepy. So again, it's the starving your body of carbohydrates that will put you into ketosis. That's why Tammy is able to eat more protein than fat and still lose weight. And that's another thing. It's like, everybody's like, well, you have to have moderate protein. Well, moderate protein is different for everybody. And again, it's all about the carbohydrates. Your body will only go through gluconeogenesis if your body needs it. It's not an automatic process. It's if your body needs it. So there's so much misinformation out there, and so many people have, they have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and all of a sudden they're a keto guru, and it's just not the case. I encourage you to do your own research. I encourage you to stay away from Dr. Berg. I know a lot of people love him, and I even mentioned him in one of my very first videos, and I wish I never did. You don't need 7 cups of vegetables. You don't. You don't need 7 cups of vegetables, okay? You don't need them. You get plenty of vitamins and minerals from you can get plenty, from meat or however you're eating. And I also get a lot of questions about why I don't supplement. I cannot take magnesium in any form. So, your electrolytes are sodium, potassium, and magnesium, and that's why I don't do that stupid stink diet. Number one, I can't take magnesium, and number two, I don't do well in a fasted state. So there you go. If you're doing this stink diet and it's successful for you, go right ahead. But anyway, so you do you, boo. I say that all the time. You do you. So this is already almost 30 minutes long. Let's get to the questions you guys asked. I just picked 4 of them. It says, how did you feel the first few weeks after starting? I felt fine. A lot of people get what they call the keto flu, but if you're eating a lot of salt and potassium, keeping those electrolytes up, you shouldn't experience that whatsoever. I've always said that when you're first starting any kind of low carb diet, if you've never gone low carb before, forget keto, forget Atkins, just focus on giving up carbohydrates, because you would be surprised just how difficult that can be for some people. And that's a lot of reason why people go off keto or go off Atkins or go off paleo or whatever. It's because giving up carbohydrates is hard. What do you see in every single food commercial on TV? You see carbohydrates. It's either ice cream or French fries or bread or pizza or that stupid Weight Watchers pizza cauliflower crust, when cauliflower is barely an ingredient. Barely an ingredient in that Weight Watchers pizza crust or whatever. So, just if you get your electrolytes or whatever, that first couple of weeks of keto, you should be okay. I think I did all right because I was in the mindset that I was ready to do this. This was something I wanted to do. And I mentioned that I was under so much stress those first couple of months. It was amazing that I didn't emotionally eat. And then I finally did the day I was diagnosed. And I told Rob, I was like, I just want to feel normal. Let's just go eat whatever we want to eat. And then I got right back on the wagon. And so yeah, that's kind of what I did. The next question is, what are some things you wish you knew when you started? That macros are kind of shit. Like I mentioned, as long as you're starving your body of carbohydrates, then you will go into ketosis. And that can be a different number for a lot of people. Some people, it can be 50 carbohydrates and going anywhere down. You don't have to eat vegetables on keto. You don't have to have carbohydrates at all, any kind, no fiber, whatever. You absolutely do not have to have that. And so that, I wish I'd known that. I honestly, I wish I just started out as carnivore, because again, it's just so much easier. And am I strict carnivore? Absolutely not. I mean, there are weeks that I want strawberries, and so I'll have strawberries. There are weeks where I want mushrooms, or like I made that Philly cheesesteak pizza that I posted where I had shallots and mushrooms and bell peppers. So I don't say, oh, I'm never going to eat another vegetable again in my life. It's just, oh, excuse me, my stomach is growling. It's just, what works for me. And that's another thing. It's like, you don't have to set you can do lazy keto. There are people who do lazy keto and have lost tons of weight. So that's what I wish I had known. There's no one right way to do keto. Every single body is so completely different than the other. You literally have to play with what you're eating and what works for you. And that can be any kind of numbers on the planet. So like I said, you don't have to stick to strict macros. And maybe you want to. Maybe that's the type of person you are and you want to measure and all that stuff. Again, you have to pick what works for you, because you have to think of keto as a way of eating. It's not a diet, because when you stop eating keto and you go back on carbohydrates, you're gonna gain your weight back. Carbohydrates cause inflammation. I can tell, like, after I've eaten carbs for a few days, like if I have a weekend and I don't do cheat days anymore, I can't, because after 3 or 4 days of eating carbs, it takes me a good 2 full weeks before my joints are no longer swollen and I can wear my wedding rings and all sorts of things. So I just try to stay away from them as much as I can. So those are kind of the things I wish I'd known. That, there's no strict way. Oh, and the community sucks. The keto community sucks. The keto community sucks. So, just pick and choose. And I hate to say it like that because I consider myself part of it, I guess. But everybody is the keto police. Everybody thinks they are an expert. In fact, I had an incident, and I'll try to remember to pop it up, but you can find it on my Instagram, where I posted my numbers and my numbers were high, my blood sugar, and then beside it I posted my keto meter. Like I said, I have a Keto Mojo link down below. And I was registering ketones, but my blood sugar was high. And this guy went off and was like, "You're lying, you had a carb binge last night." And I was like, dude, if I was eating carbs, I wouldn't be in ketosis. Because remember what I said, when you starve your body of carbs, you go into ketosis. I'm gonna say that a million times. Hey guys, this is Future Misty. I'm editing this video. So I made an overgeneralization, of course. I don't mean everybody in the keto community, but a large majority of people it's just not a friendly community. Now, my subscribers are fantastic. There are so many of you who are supportive, etc. But again, there are so many people who feel like they're gurus or keto experts, and it's just not, and that could just be the weight loss community and, as a whole. But my subscribers are great. So many of you are so amazing. But there's also, like I said, people who just consider themselves the keto police, or, they want to tell you what you're doing wrong and instead of being supportive. How do you deal with stalls when you feel like giving up? I did this name test thing on Facebook. It's where it tells like your top traits, and like 5 of my 7 were like, you never give up. And that's just my thing, is like, I always get back on the wagon. You guys, if you've been with me since day 1 and you've seen when I've gotten back off, I pull myself by my bootstraps and I just start all over again, because unfortunately your body's going to stall, and it could be something that you're eating. It could just be, the weather. It could be that time of the month if you're a woman. So there are so many things at play. I would honestly say, just if I didn't film weigh-in videos on YouTube, I don't know how often I would weigh. Because your scale doesn't tell you anything. Because I think like the first 6 months of keto, I lost maybe 20 pounds, but I literally melted. Like, you can see such a difference in even the first 4 months of me on keto, the difference in how much weight I lost in my face and my shoulders. My eyes are bigger, like, my gobbler's not quite so large. I've only lost 50 pounds, but I've lost 4 pant sizes. So I would really, really encourage you to measure. I still haven't done that. I don't know what the hell my problem is. It's probably because it just slips my mind, but I would encourage you to do your measurements rather than worry about the scale. So that's kind of my biggest thing. And another thing is and this is going to make me sound like a bitch, and I don't mean to sound like a bitch, but sometimes I get in a frame of mind where I just cannot, I just need a break from everybody's successes. And like I said, I hate to be that way. I will never begrudge somebody's success. But when you follow these people on social media and you're inundated every single day with, transformation pictures or their perfect macros or their perfect plate, and they just, they're posting their weight and it's continuing to go down, it can be really overwhelming. And it just can really cause me some stress and anxiety. So, and I deal, like I said, I deal with depression, I deal with anxiety. You know, it can be really, I can be really, really hard on myself too. And so when I get in that frame of mind, I unfollow everybody. And then once I feel better and I'm back on track and I feel like I'm making progress, then I refollow them. So, and it's nothing that they're doing. And like I said, I don't begrudge them their success, but for me, for my frame of mind and for my own mental health, I have to take a break, because social media can be really, really hard. Whether you're in the weight loss community, whether you're in the beauty community, you know, everybody's trying to compete, it feels like, and just, you're, like I said, you're just inundated with so much. I don't have a huge following on Instagram, and I try not to make it all about numbers, etc. You know, I try to post what I'm eating, show you guys different things, those kinds of things. So, and again, I don't begrudge people who have a really big following or who are growing their following by posting, you know, just full on, you know, keto, losing weight, etc. I love that. But sometimes I have to take a break from it. And that's like, I posted a video where I was like, you know, I'm just not in the frame of mind to respond to people who are sharing their, you know, their hardships. And it's because I'm, you know, I just can't. I'm an empath, which means I take on other people's emotions, and I feel them even more strongly. It's kind of why I don't watch dramas on TV anymore. Like I can't get involved in character lives when they're not real. So, you know, I just, you know, just step back and take a breath. Look at what you're eating. You know, did you add almond flour? You know, did you add, you know, a sugar substitute or something like that? A lot of it's divide and conquer. You know, if you're struggling, then strip it down, do, you know, just eat meat for a day or something like that. So it's just, you have to think of yourself as a scientist, and you are experimenting on your body, because what works for you for 6 months, it could absolutely stop working for you, and then you have to readjust. So, and the scale can be an asshole, and it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't tell everything. I mean, like I said, I'm down 55 pounds, but I've lost so many inches on my body that, you know, that more than makes up for the number on the scale. So it's hard, trust me. Like I said, I had a complete meltdown over a 3 pound gain. But yeah, you know, just don't focus on the scale. Weigh yourself every 2 weeks. You know, just don't make it about a number. Don't compare yourself to someone else's journey. Like I said, you know, so many people give me hell in the comments because Tammy, who is a beautiful person, you know, and she's had an amazing story, has lost all this weight, where here I am at 55 pounds in 2 years too. And it's like, you're comparing apples to oranges, because we're both so different. And like I said, our physiological makeup is just so different, and there's so many different things coming into play. And the last thing is best and worst things you've experienced doing keto. So best has been just feeling better. You know, a lot of people say you have mental clarity and all those kinds of things. For me, I don't know that I noticed mental clarity, and a lot of that had to be also to do with the fact that I was on a seizure medication, and so I lost my memory. I had trouble, you know, so I was already experiencing something that wasn't giving me mental clarity. So I don't know that I experienced that, but like I said, when I eat carbohydrates, my body tells me that I've eaten carbohydrates. I swell, my joints hurt so much. They hurt so much. I love that I can eat some of my favorite foods and still lose weight. Now, don't get me wrong, I miss chips and queso. I mean, I can eat chips and queso every meal, every day of my life for the rest of my life and be a happy fat girl. But, you know, I can make that and ketofy it or whatever, but my body just feels so much better. When I was off my immune suppression therapy, my body responded so much better to keto and the low carb than it had before. And like I said, what I love about it is, you know, keto, the high fat portion of keto helps you stay satiated. You know, we've all done calorie restriction. If you've been on a diet, you've restricted calories. And one thing that's really hard when you're restricting calories is you're also trying to eat low fat. So So it's like you're eating low fat, you know, and you're hungry all the damn time. And with keto, that didn't happen. And I haven't had a physical craving for food since about 6 months in on keto. I have mental cravings, like I'm an emotional eater and an emotional shopper. So sometimes when I'm having a really horrible, no good, very bad day, I will mentally crave comfort food, or I'll mentally say, oh, you know, I could go for a while with strawberry shakes. I wanted a strawberry shake every day of my life. You know, sometimes it's like I really want chips and queso and empanadas. So, you know, but that's not a physical craving. My body isn't saying, hey, this is what we need. It's all mental. Another best thing. It makes meal planning and grocery shopping really easy because I basically eat meat. Rob hates vegetables, so he's content with having, you know, potatoes and green beans with every meal. So that makes things easier for us. The eating every 2 hours is a challenge, but I found that, you know, I love like the flaxseed crackers. I've made the, you know, the oatmeal with the chia seeds and the hemp seeds and those kinds of things. I love the nut butter from Trader Joe's. Oh, if they ever stop making that, I will probably just, I don't know. I will be really, really sad. So to me, those are the best things about keto. The worst things about keto, like I said, is the keto community. I don't feel like this is a community that builds you up. I don't feel like this is a community that says, hey, you can do this, let's do it together. This is very much a community that likes to be shameful. They like to shame you. I got a lot of that my first couple of months because like I said, the disease I have causes muscle weakness. So there are days where I have to literally decide, do I take a shower or do I cook dinner? And when I was working, holy Moses, we were eating out a lot. But a lot of that had to come from the fact that I physically could not cook. And Rob doesn't know how. And he's about to be 55 years old, so I'm not going to bother trying to teach him at this age. So... And like I've seen a couple like Keto Connect, and I know they didn't mean anything by it, but you know, they were like, you know, why would you choose a $5 meal at McDonald's when you can go home and cook it? But that's very ableist. And that's another thing. It's like so many, like I bought muffins, egg muffins, and well, I would rather, that's so easy to make at home, but it's not easy for everybody. Like I can't whisk eggs. I used to make raba frittata every Sunday. I cannot crack a dozen eggs. I cannot whisk a dozen eggs. He has to completely do that. When we make fathead dough, I can melt it, but he has to be the one that does all the stirring. So not every one of us is able-bodied. So sometimes I have to rely on convenience food, and that should be okay. It shouldn't matter. There shouldn't be somebody in this comment section or the one over on Instagram telling me that I'm not doing keto right, or I should be doing this, this, and this, because not everybody is able to do it. And so that, I really dislike the keto community. I really, really do. There are some really great people. Wes from Highfalutin Low Carb, absolutely love him. There are some really great people, and there are some people who absolutely suck. And I don't know, you know, it's the nature of the beast. But instead of, you know, being like, oh yes, you're doing, you know, this is great. Everybody's like, well, you're not doing it right. You should watch Keto Casey, or you're not doing it right. You should watch Tammy, or you're not doing it. You know, it's just like somebody else is always doing something better. And at the end of the day, this is my personal journey. This is my journey. This is me. I share my life because I want other people to see somebody of size, somebody with multiple disabilities, to be able to go, okay, if Misty can do this, then I can figure out a way to do this. So that's probably the worst. Another worst is when your body releases acetone your first couple of weeks, and I have a pork aversion. And I still cannot eat pork chops or pork roast, and it makes me so sad. I was able to eat pork belly the other day because I can eat bacon and I can eat sausage and I can eat ham. Anything that's been smoked or anything that's been like a lot of spices and stuff. But yeah, so I was drinking out of one of these cups. This is my Halo Top. Jesus, Mary and Josephine. Hydroflask. And I was like, I was drinking without a straw, and I was like, what the hell is that smell? Like the pork chops didn't taste good. I was like, am I giving this food poisoning? And it was the acetone in my breath. And that's, a lot of people call it like the keto rash or whatever. So I didn't appreciate that. But other than that, I mean, do I miss, normal food? Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't? We're in a society where we eat for pleasure. That's kind of what's been engrossed in our minds. And we have to rewrite that CD where we're eating more for fuel, still eating for pleasure, but more for fuel than, trying to, sabotage your weight loss or whatever. And I said something one time, and someone mentioned it in the comments, and I didn't even realize I said it. It's like, you have to take the opportunity to not derail your progress. And that has to be a conscious thought. There have been a couple of times where I'm like yesterday, I had such a rough couple of days, 3 days this week, and a slew of rough weeks because of the weather. And yesterday I just wanted to bury my face in pizza, and I didn't. I didn't, because I'm in ketosis and I'm working on getting my blood sugars under control, and I knew I would completely derail my progress, and I just didn't want to do it. So yeah, it can be hard. It's not easy. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's all sunshine and roses, but I think it's a viable way of eating. But again, you have to think of it as a way of eating and not as a short-term diet. So yeah, so 45 minutes later, that's my 2-year Ketoversary and update. As far as my goal for March, I just want to continue to keep the weight off, to continue to keep losing. I want to continue, experimenting and trying to find a dosage of insulin and, the times of day when to eat that kind of help. I'm really trying to avoid waking up in the middle of the night. But if anybody knows like an alarm that you can wear around your wrist, not an Apple Watch or something stupid expensive, but if you know of something under $50 that I could wear around my wrist that would like vibrate and wake me up, I would rather do that. I don't want to risk waking Rob up in the middle of the night. So yeah, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully the weight will continue, we'll get it figured out and go from there. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you made it to the end, comment Chihuahua or something in the comments. I'm sure most people will get to the weight and then click out, but that's okay. But I wanted to share, answer this question, share all my journey, share all my information. If you're just starting, just do what feels right. Do what works for you. If you find that you're not losing weight, play around a little bit. Like I said, this is, there's no one set way to do ketos. Remember, if you're starving your body of carbohydrates, you will automatically go into ketosis. The fat is there to help keep you satiated, and your body needs protein to live. So there you go. So thanks guys. I really appreciate you. If you're interested, I did film this look. This is the second time. I'm having issues with my new camera. I gotta call Panasonic and see what the hell, but I am gonna post it. But yeah, that's it guys. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.